So give a continuation to book 3 of the Spirit's book, the topic of good and evil. That is the beginning of the moral laws, or the natural laws, or the divine laws, or the laws of God, whatever you pick, whatever you think is best for you. We are now on question 635. Yes, but just because I think 629 is the beginning of everything, and is the basically all the questions break down from this 629. Let's read that again and then go back to 635. 629, please.
How should moral law be defined? Moral law is the rule for acting rightly, which may be understood as practically distinguishing between good and evil. It is founded. You moved. Elmo.
I did not move. I don't know what's happening. Something keeps popping over here. Do you see now?
No, I still see 631 is the first one on the screen.
I did not move. The computer did it.
Okay. It is founded on the adherence to God's law. Humankind act fairly and properly when good is the ultimate goal and rule of action, which is acting in compliance with God's law.
Okay, so the reason that I asked to go back over here is because it's, you may understand, all this topic of good evil is breakdown of this answer. And as we spoke last night, I'd like to repeat, it's one and only law. You see over here that the both question and answer is in the singular, moral law, not laws. It's one and only law. And it's a rule of acting. So it's not something theoretical, it's not something philosophical, it's something practical to be applied in our daily lives. And it all breaks down in being able to understand in a very practical sense to distinguish what's good and what's evil. And of course, that is the question that we have. That's the question that Kardec deals with quite a few questions over here. What is good and what's evil? Further, we already read, we're not going back there. The Spirit tells us that the moral law is the list yet from God, created from God, to provide us happiness. They also tell us that it's eternal, as we are. They are not infinite because they have had a point of creation, right? So infinite, there's no end and there's no beginning. Since they've been created by God, they do have a beginning, but they do not have an end. And it's meant to provide us with happiness when applied. Therefore, the application of this law is what brings happiness to humankind. And not asked last week if this law is limited to this world that we live today. And I answered that can't go farther beyond this world that we live today. The world where close where the Christ live or much more evolved places that's have not been there and don't understand what it means to be a lot more evolved than what I am right now. But definitely for this world and for worlds before this was definitely applies. And I would imagine to be constant throughout the universe. But I cannot say that it's absolute, because again, have not been there yet. And the question of good and evil, we break down over here, is the act without selfishness and without pride for the benefit of the common good. Again, as in one of the books of André Luiz, when André Luiz asked his mentor in that book, what's good and what's evil, and gave the answer that what's good is, food for everyone, education for everyone, it's freedom for everyone, it's good education for everyone, it's good housing for everyone, and everything that, it's good, that we understand being good. And I always ask them what is evil, and the answer is it's all of the things for oneself. So we know, in other words, what's evil is selfishness. It's thinking of oneself, and it's pride and selfishness. You understand that generate all the hardship that we face in our world. When we free ourselves from these two cancers, then you'll be able to exercise, to live in accordance with the laws, and we all reach the level of happiness. Is there any question here? So on 6:35 now.
635. Different social standings create new wants that are not the same for all human beings. Is natural law not a constant rule? Those different standings are found in nature and follow the law of progress. They do not undermine the unity of natural law, which applies to everything. The conditions of the lives of human beings vary greatly depending on the time and place of existence. Therefore, different wants and social standings arise corresponding to those wants. Since this diversity depends on the circumstances, it must be consistent with God's law. This law is singular in principle. Reason must distinguish between true wants and fabricated wants.
And that's basically my rationale to believe that this law is one and only for all spirits of eternity. So of course, again, I cannot say that because I don't know the words way ahead of ours. But this is telling us one thing. Circumstance changes. We change, we are different, but the law is the same, right? Those differences are found in nature and follow the law of progress. They do not undermine the authority of law, the unity of natural law, which applies to everything. As we progress, we have different needs. We started that already last week. Depends on the circumstances where we live, depends on the climate where we live, the topography where we live. We have different needs. We need someone who lives in a community in the Himalayas where the wind blows at close to 100 miles per hour constantly. They have completely different needs. Someone who lives, let's say, on a tropical forest or subtropical forest. It'll be completely different. The needs of those individuals. Cultures will generate some different needs for each individual. Religion will create different needs for certain individuals. Some individuals have the need to be off on Fridays because they cannot work on Fridays. Those are somewhat of superficial needs. Because only at the incarnate level itself, There are things that will unite us and make us extremely equal. Pain is from all of us. Everything levels with pain. I don't care how much money you have, I don't care which religion you have, a toothache is a toothache for everyone. Loss of a loved one is the same one for everyone. You may celebrate in a different way. You may follow rituals in accordance to the culture, but the sorrow, the pain is the same to everyone. The birth of your child is the same, the joy and the happiness is the same for everyone. Hunger is the same for everyone. I don't care if you're vegetarian or accept the carnivore, hunger is hunger for everyone. So only by, in the peaceful sense, there comes that unites us, regardless of all of our differences. Take one step above the eternal spirit, we make the at the same way, simple and ignorant, equally destined to reach the spiritual purification or perfection, if you prefer. Each one will take a different path to reach the same goal. Each one will travel at its own speed in time. Each one will progress in accordance with the exercise of its free will and its intelligence. But all of us are going to reach the same outcome as purified spirits. Therefore, even if, let's say, culture today, cell phone, a smart cell phone, it becomes an object of a matter of necessity if you're going to have live in this society that we live today, at least in the world that we live here. It's almost impossible not to use a cell phone today. I can say that in my job, I need to have a smartphone. I need, it's a necessity going to have one, to be able to send videos with really good accuracy of images, MRIs, scans, those kind of things, for surgeons to look at it at a distance. I have to have that. If I don't have that, I cannot work anymore. It's a need that I have to do. But it's circumstantial. It's not a necessity of this time spirit. It's of us living this world today with this technology that is available to us, thanks to God, makes our life a lot easier, eliminates the distance and all the things. But these are only tools to assist us to tell the spiritual progress to move on morally and intellectually. Naturally, we can misuse those tools as well, and instead of having it to be a tool for us to propel us forward, it may delay our progress as well. But then again, it's how we utilize our free will and our intelligence. So things change, but they're lost time. And I'm going to see each one of them will remain the same. And they are meant to give us happiness. Comments, questions? 26. You muted, Philip?
Sorry about that.
Okay.
Are good and evil absolute for all humanity? God's law is the same for everyone, but evil resides in the people's desire for it to happen. Good is always good, and evil is always evil, regardless of what a person's position may be. The difference is in the degree of accountability.
So good is good, evil is evil is evil. there is an absolute on that, regardless. So let's assume that I go hunting. During the hunting season, in the proper place to hunt, with my proper license at hand, using the proper ammunition is allowed by law, at the right time of the year, I do everything right. And in that hunt expedition, I see whatever I'm hunting. I see a deer, I aim, I shoot, I miss, and I hit another hunter behind me. Is it evil? Absolutely, yes. I'm 31. Relative. It becomes less because of the total accident. There is no intention, and even our law takes into consideration. Now, let's say that I didn't have my license. I was hunting on a legal place, or I was hunting out of season, hunting season. Then then it's even illegal. But I done everything right. I just missed the target and that bullet finds upon someone else. It's still evil. This is too bad. And if you think it's not, go ask the person who got shot. Ask that person if it's not. Remember to put ourselves in the shoes of the other, right? Remember to do what we'd like us to be done. Go ask that person, well, I didn't mean it. You can say, well, but I still having the pain. I still got a bullet between my ribs, whatever. Right? So it is still an evil thing. It's still a bad thing. But everything the difference is a degree of accountability. The spirit says that here, the difference is a degree of accountability. Even our law today understand that. If even our law takes all those things into consideration, yeah, he was hunting, but it was the right season. He had the proper documentation. He had the proper ammunition. He was hunting a permitted hunting area. He was hunting the permitted game, and he still did something bad that he missed the target. That bullet was from someone else. Even now, law you take into consideration. Can you imagine that? So, a good if absolute for all humanity, yes, there is an absolute there. That person who got shot is still in pain, and every time that it causes pain to someone, it's not good, regardless of the circumstance. But the difference is the degree of accountability. You're going to take everything into consideration. Does it make sense? Anybody disagree? Okay. 37.
When savages give in to their instinctive desire to eat human flesh, are they guilty? The essence of evil lies in the will. Therefore, humans are more or less guilty according to the awareness of their own actions. Circumstances give good and evil a relative seriousness. Humans often commit faults that are reprehensible as a consequence of the social positions in which they are placed. Their accountability is proportionate to the means they possess of distinguishing between right and wrong. Therefore, enlightened individuals who commit minor injustices are more culpable before God than ignorant savages who surrender to their instincts.
Okay.
So,
Go ahead.
so evil, this is what I'm kind of getting here. Evil is when you act with the awareness evil with the awareness that you are committing something malicious.
Yeah.
Because if you act with the same behavior without intention,
Can you guys hear him?
Yes,
without intention, without a malicious intention, then it's not really evil. Because, am I making sense? I'm thinking. out
Okay,
loud.
so go back to the hunter. He's the one who got shot, well, it's still bad for you, right?
If I got shot, I'm gonna get out of here.
Yeah, so. And even I being the hunter of accidents, yeah, although it's extremely bad for what happened. So there is an absolute and a relative. So in the absolute, a wrong is a wrong.
Yeah, but if you're looking at it from the macro, but if you.
But
look at
if,
the rest-
right. But then there is the relative, and then that's what you're talking about in the relative. That really depends in the degree of knowledge you want to have, the degrees of moral intellectual progress one have achieved, in the intention that one places in that action. Those are the relatives. These are the difference in the degree of accountability.
And the nature of evil itself,
I'm sorry,
and the nature of evil itself.
in the nature of the wrongdoing itself, yes. So João always used the example, the 3 years old pick up the vase, lift it up and drop and break the vase. Did he commit did that 3 years old did something wrong? Yes. 15 years old does the same thing. Did he do something wrong? Yes. The degree of accountability is the same. The 3 years old and the 15 years old. So the more you know, the more responsible you are. The more intention you have on doing it, the more responsible you are. It's switch. It says,
You see, because I see evil as linked to responsibility and awareness.
yes. Yes. But it's still, there is an absolute that right is right, wrong is wrong. Right? And the degree of responsibility of that action will vary in accordance to the moral intellectual progress of that person, at least intellectual, because if the person has a moral progress, probably not going to do it.
Exactly.
But the intellectual,
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
on the degree of the intention
Yeah.
this guy is, right? I mean, accidents happen all the time. That's always try to tell people. Like, accidents happen because it's my fault, because it's the other person's fault, because it's nobody's fault, was the weather, was something else, something with the car. Actually, it happens, right? And no accident is a good thing. So being absolute, if it's not good, it's bad. That's it's an absolute there. Is it good or it's not good? If it's not good, it's bad. I never heard somebody say an accident is good. In VA. So it's bad. No, the degree of
Got it.
the degree
Let
of
me know if you need me.
Wow.
when you what's going on.
Let me know if you need it.
Back here, I had to have myself on moment. Sorry. So back to absolute and relative. Who you vary and how much understanding that person knows of what it's convenient and the intention that person puts on committing that. So if I drive my car and I aim at someone and I hit someone, 100% guilt. If I don't aim someone but I'm driving drunk, still not good. But it takes away the intention. I had no intention, that's what I was from. Right? But I'm still pretty guilty. Okay. The car, it's snowing, the guy goes, dancing on the snow and hits someone, still not good. But the degree of accountability is much, much lesser. But it's still not. It's still bad. We have to have this absolute. It's good or it's not good. An accident's good, no, then it's not good. That's absolute. Now, why did this accident happen? What were the circumstances? What was the intention behind? If the 5-year-old pickup a guy starts driving hit someone, who is at fault? The parents. Whoever responsible for that 5-year-old. Not that 5-year-old. Even our law understand that. See what's behind it.
I just need to solve.
I did, I think it will change. Yeah. I got it.
Could I ask a question?
Sure.
What about trophy hunting? This would be organizations that allow big game hunting for a high price. Animals are killed, beautiful animals are killed. However, those organizations say or feel that they are helping to promote the land reserves in different countries. I don't know if that is indeed the case, but are we talking good and evil, or is just circumstance the way people are choosing to use their time, their money, their investment in hunting? It's a tricky question because it's in a
Up to you.
area, I feel.
So,
Researching the land.
Okay, so let's take the hunting issue here in two different ways. Let's say hunting in New York State. Okay. Hunting in New York State is necessary. Hunting for deers. Okay, it's necessary. Well, let's put it this way. To kill a certain number of deers annually, it's necessary in New York City. New York
In New York
State.
State.
New York State. Why is that? Because there is no more predator. Because unfortunately made a mistake and you killed all the predator. There is no wolves. There is nothing to kill those deers anymore. If you don't do that, if you don't do that, you break the balance, and the deer population will suffer. There will be no food, nothing for the deer population. So a certain number of deers must be eliminated, unfortunately, every year. Because we human beings create that imbalance in the ecosystem. And the only way that we can fix, as of now, I have to come in with a better answer, is to eliminate a certain number of deers every year. So it's very well regulated, okay? And each hunter has, I don't know, okay? I understand it. I'm a kid, I like nature, I read a lot about it, okay? There's a certain number, that each should be eliminated every winter, okay? To maintain the deer population health. Okay. Now, an individual likes to hunt. You make use of that necessity and go and hunt. Okay, if during a deer season, not enough hunters go out there, the conservatives park people, they have to go eliminate some of these deers. So that there is a necessity. Okay, what you're talking about, especially in Africa, right? It's something that needs to be studied very carefully. Would we say that people is using this as a gimmick? People is using this as an excuse to go after those trophies? That I'm not in a position to answer that, because it's very easy for me to say, no, you cannot ever kill such and such animal, whatever animal is that. It's very easy for me to say that in the comfort of my house, okay? But go and ask the population on there that benefits from it. The only way that can get clean water is because of that hunting is bringing that kind of income that allows them to have clean water. It's very easy to say, no, we have to protect the animals, and that's why I truly believe. But go ask that person that the only way they can send the kid to school is because the income they receive from that hunting business that happens in that area. So there's something that have to be very, very careful, and I'm not in a position to answer that. But it was to say that anyone who's go over there with a gun, really to kill an animal, have to think twice. What is that intention? That if that person's really concerned about that guy who needs to clean water, it's no serious to put a trophy in the wall of his office. That's personal. That person has to answer for himself or herself. At the big picture, the same way that controlled deer hunt in New York State is necessary, perhaps it is in those areas, which I don't know if it is or not, for the specific species over there. Is all a gimmick, is also using that argument to allow discriminated hunting to take place. It's very possible.
So the jury's out, it's sort of very.
From my
Right.
perspective,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
From my perspective, yes. If ideally, there will never be any hunting. Never kill any animal except for farming. But unfortunately, it's not the word that we live in. And again, it's very easy to condemn hunting in parts of the world, but go over there and live their lives first. Put yourself in their shoes first, and then you'll be able to answer it more clearly.
Thank you, Alma. Appreciate the answer.
Is there a question on 637? I think it's a very important question. So if individuals still exercise cannibalism, is that a crime? Well, it's wrong to kill and eat human flesh, except in absolute survival necessity, right? You eat human flesh that is our body's already dead in extreme circumstances. It doesn't make sense. We have examples of that it happened in the past. If anyone had read the beautiful poem by Castro Alves, I don't think this is translated in English, Juca Piranos, tells the story of the individual that tells the story of the tribe that practiced cannibalism, but they would only eat the flesh of the great warrior. Once one great warrior was killed, they would eat the flesh to internalize the spirit of the great warrior. It was not to feed themselves, was not to evil, because they were able to capture and kill a great warrior, to eat a little bit of the flesh. They would internalize the spirit of the great warrior and would become a great warrior like the one that they eat a little bit of that flesh. Is that wrong? In our society, we would consider it wrong. Is that absolutely wrong? Yeah, to kill someone is absolutely wrong. But taking the other relative of that, each one answers for themselves. It's not as bad as someone kill someone else in New York City and try to get it. Questions? 638.
Evil sometimes seems to be a consequence of circumstances. For instance, in some cases, even the killing of a fellow creature is necessary. In such cases, is God's law violated? Evil is still evil despite being necessary. This necessity fades as the soul becomes purified by passing from one life to another. And human beings are all the more guilty when they do wrong because they more clearly understand the character of their actions.
That makes us think of the wars, right? And wars, when then Kazakh asked why do you have wars in the States? The answer was because of our animal nature dominates above our spiritual nature, right? And so animalized, we have that wars. Once there is wars, then there is feeling. The spiritual side, war in us, or you kill or you die. Or you protect your land, or your land is dominated by someone else. So it becomes necessary, but it is still important. Now, as we purify ourselves, we will no longer create wars, and there will be no more need of soldiers in one another. It's very simple. But again, the absolute is there. To what someone is still there. We invade someone's property and land is still there. As long as you allow our animals instinct predominate over the spirit, we're gonna have to live with the necessity of committing to it. But it's still evil. Again, I like it, always thinking of absolute equality. Should we have wars 2022? Well, I think in the early 80s, what is the name of that Buddhist leader? Dalai Lama. But I said, wars now is absolute. There is no more reason to have wars. It's something doesn't make sense anymore. It didn't make sense, at the time of Christ. Perhaps it was some necessity, but we have not learned yet. 2,000 years after Christ, it is still our animal nature predominated over our spiritual nature. But it's no longer relaxed time. It was ever, after what, it is no longer. So the people that are going to be are a lot more responsible than the people that someone committed 2,000 years ago, 5,000 years ago. Again, the degree of accountability. For example. Questions, comments?
I have a question, Elmo.
Yes.
It's kind of a philosophical question, so if you don't want to answer, I'll get it. Because I'm trying to understand the root of the evil a little bit more, not all of it. And I was thinking here, when you look, since we were created simple and ignorant, and even before we became spirits in a sense of developing the intellectual side, before we were experiencing all the kingdoms, even when you look at, for example, in nature, virus, it attacks other, cells in order to survive or to procreate. And you look at, for example, birds that eat fish or animals that hunt animals. So we were, before we become, again, intellectual spirits, we were experiencing those things. Evidently, the law is different there. There's no, the killing part is not as we know as a human being, but we were experiencing taking something else or something, someone else, something else. There is not a being in the kingdoms, but we were experiencing that. And then when we become intellectual beings, primitive beings, we also, in the beginning, we were killing. Evidently is a different way because of we didn't understand the laws yet. And then we come to nowadays that some people take pleasure in killing and whatever. But my question would be, if when we get to a point now that we understand more of everything, that killing is, or being evil in certain cases, it is associated with killing, is something that is against the law. Why is that from the beginning something like that was in a different way? Why viruses and animals and stuff would not find a different way to survive or to evolve without experiencing that for lack of a better word, killing part that is imprinted on us to these days?
Okay, so putting things in nature, so to say, we have the herbivores, the ones that want to eat plants, have the carnivores, the ones that want to eat animals, other animals. Leaving it alone, they maintain the equilibrium, they maintain the ecosystem. I just spoke of the necessity of us to kill a deer because we broke that balance. We messed up with the ecosystem, removing all the predators of the deers, right? So in nature, there is that balance. There, things are regulated if you leave it alone by themselves, or perhaps despite of them, even, right? If there was not enough, if there was no carnivores, there would not be enough plant for all the herbivores. They would multiply without ever having a balance. So nature balances itself out, maintaining this balance of among us, those who eat and those become food, right?
Yeah.
A virus is a virus has no idea what the virus. We don't even know if the virus is a living being. All a virus wants to do is get inside the cell and replicate. I can't even say that want, because it has no mind, there's no want in that. That's the only thing it does. They never said that they reproduce. It does not reproduce, it replicate. And we go through all those experiences in all those kingdoms, right? And then all the sun, and that's to me is the parable of the Mosaic Genesis. We go through all those experiences, not being responsible for anything, not have any kind of karma. Okay. Lion will hunt zebras and will feed themselves from zebras, and hyena will seek the baby lions and destroy the baby lions they can find along the way, and they keep that equilibrium in that environment. Right? By doing that, there will be not too many zebras, there will be not too many lions to eliminate all the zebras, but they maintain that balance. We go through all that experience. they're not responsible for anything, right? When a lion defeats the alpha male in that group, becomes now the alpha, the first thing they're gonna do, they're gonna go search for all the babes and kill all of them. So those females is still in heat, will mate with him, and then they will carry now the generic pool. Maintaining balance is horrific. The idea that a male will go over there, kill all the babes, and then will you go and mate with the mom of those babies so they can carry their genetic pool. Sounds barbaric. But that guarantees harmony, equilibrium of that ecosystem. You love to see the beautiful dolphins, so smart, so nice, so intelligent. But when it's a group of male dolphins, literally sequester a female and literally force them to have sex with them, it's barbaric. But that's what that guarantees, a diverse genetic pool and the health of the species. So there's a lot of things that happen there, and it's not really pleasant. But they are not guilty of anything. They're not responsible for anything. And you go through that, not have responsibility, but come to a point that we grew up enough that now we have an understanding of the divinity. Now we have a free will, a little bit of it, and now we have a little bit of intelligence. At that point on, you are responsible. At that point on, you have to start to unlearn all of those things and live in accordance with the divine laws that we're just talking about right now. How long does it take? At that point, when you become an individualized intelligent principle, we receive as a gift from God the rules of the game. These divine laws imprinted in our conscience. And every time they go against it, we know because it's imprinted in our conscience. So you say people go killing people there. Those who are killing people there, they know they are doing wrong. If you go to the prison and ask those committing homicides, they will tell that no, they did it wrong. And some will say, better off stay here because let me out and I'll do it again. It's not that we don't know. We do know. It's only when we allow again our animality to prevail over our spirituality. It's just when we allow our selfishness and pride to speak louder than the laws imprinted in our conscience. And progress, moral progress, is exactly that. We want to resist to act in those tendencies. By doing so, we kind of attenuate those desires. If you don't use it, you lose it. You may have the desire to do now, but I do not act on my desire. And I don't act on my desire. So many repeated times that I lose that desire, no longer have that desire. But for as long as I persist with the desire of power, like the lion alpha, or the one who tries to defeat the alpha, have the desire to be the number one, desire to be the best, the strongest, it is our animal nature predominate our spiritual nature. That is why we still have evil. But now we are responsible because now we have all these laws imprinted in our conscience. And when we act in a way that is contrary to that, we don't know. We choose to do so, but we know. Why we know. Again, if we go back to this, good is everything that is good for everyone, And evil is everything that is good for oneself. What is it? Selfishness. As long as I allow selfishness to predominate over the laws imprinted in our conscience, we are bound to make mistakes. But you know that we all know that we make mistakes. We may hide it from everyone else, but you cannot hide to ourselves because it's imprinted in our conscience. You may even justify doing the wrong, but you know it's wrong. It's two different things. Does it make sense?
Yeah, I'm just, again, I'm not questioning what you're saying. I'm just trying to bring down notch to understand. What you say, it's like me having a child and tell her, you can eat as much sugar as you want. And then when she gets to 12, teenagers say, now you cannot eat sugar anymore because you know better. But then the child's gonna look at me, but I've done that so far. Why you change? No. Now we change. Now you cannot eat sugar. And like some will follow through, some will gonna fall to the slip to the cracks. So I understand what you're saying. I'm not questioning. I'm just trying to digest, because we as a being, not as a spirit, as a being, again, as you explained, we experience all that. And then we gain conscious. Okay, as you well put it, now you know the rules. Now everything changed. So whatever you were doing before, you can't do anymore. And to me, it's like, okay, since we don't make the rules, we just play them. It is what it is. But that for me helps a little bit to understand why there is the spirits that are so still stuck on their animalistic ways of doing things, if you will, because sometimes it's for them, or even for us. I'm not going to exclude myself on that. Sometimes for us, it's still a long ways to detach ourselves from what we've been for so long. Because if you put in terms of time wise, we are being in the animal kingdom way more than I think than we are on this side here. So yeah, so it's a lot to digest.
Yeah, I don't think, I understand completely what you say, but I don't think it's, your analogy works well as in the case of going through experiences before you become an individualized intelligent principle, and now receiving those divine laws imprinted on our conscience, and have that little bit of free will and a little bit of intelligence to ignite us to move forward. We start pretty much in terms of intelligence, in terms of thinking, from zero, because it just started at that point. In terms of utilizing our free will, we start at that point. It's different from the child that you allow them to do wrong, and then we decide it's time to stop doing wrong. Because that individual already has the free will and already has intelligence and is learning the wrong thing. When we start as intelligent principles at the very beginning of the spirit, we start from zero. All those experiences that we had are very important. That do not really play a role in our decision makings anymore. And we can see that in more simple societies, that they act in a much more simpler way. There is still bad thing happen in those communities, but when you read when we study the community, let's say, of indigenous people, let's say, right, there is no homicides. There is no perversity happening as much as we have here. As we progress a little bit, is that we start to gain the desire for power and everything else that creates most of the evil. If you go to those more simple societies, if you read about that, you see that amongst them, among those more simple people, you know, the Indians, so to say, there was, of course, still humans, but not as obvious as we can see in our society today, because they didn't have the desire to have more than the other. On the contrary, they have the desire to share. Sharing is part of their lives more than anything else. You know, they go hunting together and everybody shares whatever they catch. The woman does the responsibility, and they all share everything equally. There is less crime, so to say, in their simplicity. Is when we become more complex that we start to kind of neglect moral conscience and act more in our pride and selfishness. We went over a minute. We'll stop here. On this Sunday, we have our meetings booked. But on the following Sunday, we have a Q&A. Please bring us questions regarding this topic. It would be nice to have a discussion on that again. Carol, are you able to make a
Sure.
final prayer?
Sure, thank you very much, Elmo, and everyone. Thank you for this evening's study of the Spirit's book. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we are grateful to be together this evening as brothers and sisters for our study of the Spirit's book, our topic being good and evil. The moral law is the divine law in action. It is God's law to be applied in our daily lives and to provide us with the direction toward happiness. It is to act without selfishness and pride for the common good. Each person will progress. Each person has a unique way of progressing and will apply the natural law. We are accountable for our choices and actions. We are evolving, and our soul is transforming and purifying. We are grateful to our spiritual benefactors, the good spirits, the mentors, the helpers, the healers who are with us, helping us, guiding us, assisting us, and allowing us to move in a positive direction, helping us to keep our thoughts strong, attentive, and our hearts open. We are truly grateful for all the guidance and the blessings that we have received, and may we continue with our studies, our mindfulness, and our prayers throughout the week. We are never alone, and may we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us. May we share this energy, this goodness, with those that we come in contact with, especially our family members, our loved ones, and those who are near and dear to us. May we do an outreach with our prayers in the world, in the global sense, for all those who are suffering, who are in need of help, healing, who are in need of comfort, and who are in need of greater assurance. May they be reassured that their faith be strong and that they will be guided as they ask and reach out for the directions. We humbly ask for safety and protection as we go forth now to family, friends, loved ones, and co-workers. May we remind ourselves that we can be beacons of light, we can be of service, and we can keep our thoughts and our hearts in a positive and open way. We close now and go forth, humbly ask to be the beacons of light. Go forth now in peace.